Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Hawashai Bashim Kakadash. As your brother Elder Bishop Thun back at you with another video. In this video, I think I'm going to call it Being a Man Avoids a Lot of Bitch Assness. I'll call it that. And I'm going to play this video and then explain the title. Now, this video was uploaded by, this is a GMS Overdrive channel. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is a pre-shaman in New York. I could be wrong. But this is from 2014. So, let's play. How did I get it before? Yeah, so let's hit play.
Something being carnal. What else?
Pride. Stand up.
Pride.
Excuse me. Oh yeah, what Apostle Tahar was talking about. He asked a question, what is leaven? Because during the Passover, we're commanded to eat unleavened bread. And the leaven is what? That is yeast, right? So on the evening of the Passover, excuse me, anything in your household that has yeast, you're supposed to have thrown it out. But the leaven, which is the yeast, it also represents something spiritually, right? Which is wickedness. So he basically poses the question, what does it mean physically and spiritually? And the brothers are answering, all right? So let me rewind a little bit.
Somebody in the back, anybody? Speak loud, speak loud.
Stand up to.
Our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
So now we went into the physical aspect of what leaven is when you rise bread or cake. So what's the spiritual leaven? All right, somebody in the back, anybody? Speak loud, speak loud.
Stand up to.
Okay, that's one thing, being carnal. What else?
Pride. Stand up.
Pride, okay.
Stand up when y'all speak.
What else? Somebody said wickedness. So if you wicked, man, you got to get all that. If you got a problem with a brother,
yep,
you got to get rid of that problem with that brother, man.
That's right.
You know.
Well, that's the main point right there. Let me see if Apostle Tahar says anything else, sir. Let me see.
So that's what that means. So when you come to the Passover, and you can bring in your scripture.
This is
That's it.
1 Corinthians chapter 11.
You keeping time, right? You keeping time.
All right, I'll start at 25. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. For this cause many are weak and sickly among you, and many sleep. For if we would judge ourselves, we should not be
What
judged.
does sleep mean?
For this cause
Means die.
Sickly. That's us all.
Yeah, so basically, brothers, you know, you got a lot of dudes. They have a problem with brothers, and they hold on to grudges. The grudges is leaven, and if you understand yeast is pretty much like cancer, which yeast is like I won't say I'm not sure if it's sugar. I don't want to be wrong. I got to look it up. But it feeds on sugar. Yeast is basically it's bacteria, right? If yeast feeds on sugar. But anyway, the point I'm making is that yeast just spreads, and the scriptures say a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump, and that's why if you have first, you have to examine yourself, all right? You have to examine yourself, and you have to examine whether you got any leaven in you, which the leaven is what? Is wickedness. And what's going to happen is if you don't check yourself, that entire lump could be two things. The entire lump could be you, your body. So first, that leaven or them demons is poking at you, messing around with you. And if you don't take care of it, then guess what? Your whole body just gets infested with demons before it's too late. At that point, it's too late for you, right? But you have to salvage the rest of the body, which is the rest of the brotherhood. And if it gets to a certain point where you didn't check yourself, then other brothers are going to have to check you. And it might be to a point, because usually cancer, if you catch it too late, you basically got to cut that whole part of the body off. You might have to amputate the foot. Same thing with diabetes. You might have to amputate the foot, the leg, you know. But if you caught it early enough, you know, it's just like diabetes or any other. I mean, diabetes is a perfect one to think of, because diabetes, you can check yourself. You can periodically make sure you're eating right, making sure your blood sugar level is okay. But if you're not doing that, if you're not examining yourself, and there's always symptoms first. Some people ignore the symptoms, some people look deeper into it. You start looking deeper into the symptoms, meaning you're examining yourself, then you can start making the changes that are required to reverse the symptoms and to reverse the disease before it gets to the point to where that whole part of the body is no good and needs to be cut off. And that's symbolic to when you just didn't check yourself and you totally got to the point where you're infested with so many demons that you just get cut out of the brotherhood or out the camp. Okay? And that happens a lot. And one avenue that will come through is through grudges, you know? And this is what Apostle Tahar was talking about. That's part of the leaven, you know? That is very strong leaven. And the reason for the title is that being a man can avoid a lot of bitch assness, because if you have a problem with that brother, just like Apostle Tahar said, you approach the brother, you confront him, and you take care of the problem, you know? And you got a lot of dudes, hold on. You got a lot of men that have been kicked out of the truth or left. A lot of them just left on their own, you know? They bowed out. And you gotta examine and understand what's the root of the issue. And the root of the issue is they're not a real man. So if they have a problem, they have an issue, just like a woman, when she has an issue with you, she'll act like nothing's wrong. But you'll notice there's something wrong in her actions and the way she's moving, right? She's being or she'll be passive aggressive. And that's her letting you know, I got a problem with you, nigga. But you're just gonna have to figure it out. And that's some bitch ass shit. And you got a lot of dudes that operate like that. You know, so they hold on to the grudge, they act cool in front of your face, but you could tell there's something off, there's something there, but they won't tell you what it is, you know? And they just hide it. And you can't hide that. Like leaven, you can't hide the leaven. You can hide it. You don't see leaven. You just see the effects of it, the symptoms of it. And it's the same thing, spiritual leaven. So a brother on the outside right away may not notice it, but you know there's something wrong, because you know you got a problem with a brother. You know that there's bitch assness that creeps into you when you see the brother, but you hide it, you hold back on it, but you act like everything's cool, but really you got a fucking problem. But you weren't man enough to speak up on it, and somehow the brother's just supposed to magically know that you got an issue with him. And then here, 1 year goes by, 2 years go by, and you're holding this shit in. And what's gonna happen? The whole entire lump, your whole body's is gonna surrender to that fucking leaven that's been growing inside of you. You know, like mold inside a house. You know what I'm saying? And so, let me see if I can find a scripture. I'm trying to remember how it's worded. Let me do a Google search. Let me see a Bible verse. Bible verse. What's the key word? Damn. Have a problem. Settle it before sundown. Ephesians. Oh yeah. Ephesians 4:26. Okay, so that scripture. Ephesians 4:26. So let me see if I get the Bible app. Ephesians 4:26. Yep. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. So be angry, right? So, you know, brother might say some shit or do something and you might get angry, right? And sin not. Meaning you got dudes that have put hands on brothers, you know, probably set them up, or backbite, whispered some shit to other brothers to try to spread that leaven. You know, that's sinning. That's some bitch assness, right? Be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. So if you got an issue with your brother, you squash that shit ASAP. Because if not, you're giving place to the devil. So once you sleep on it, you're angry, you start sleeping on it and shit. Just like a fucking bitch. She might be angry at something, right? This is how Satan operates. And this is why as men, you can't be like a fucking woman. This is how women operate. Any woman watching this, you have to agree. If not, you're fucking lying. Alright? But a woman will think some shit is going on. She won't ask you. She'll just zip her fucking mouth. You know, act stank. She'll try to act cool at first, but sooner or later, them demons are going to be bubbling and you're going to see that she got a fucking problem with you. You're going to see the passive aggressiveness. But what happens is they don't say shit and they'll sleep on it. The sun will go down. They sleeping in their bed. They can't sleep. They thinking about the shit all night. Next day, they thinking about the shit the whole fucking week. And in their mind, Satan is playing with them. And they're thinking of all different types of scenarios and situations and what you really meant. And it's all negative, negative, backwards, fucked up shit, poison, right? And the well of water is just slowly being poisoned, and she holds on to it until there's one problem that comes up or one argument, and the bitch explodes like a nuclear bomb, and you're like, where the fuck did all this shit come from? And it's some shit she's been holding for a year, 2 years, a month, whatever. And you got niggas that operate like this in the truth. That's why I said being a man avoids a lot of bitch assness. Because if you're a fucking man, you would just fucking say something to the brother that you got a problem with him. You know? That's why this truth, sooner or later, man, this truth will exploit your weakness. And either you fix the shit or it's gonna fix you right out of the truth. You know what I'm saying? This shit is not for the weak, bro. Right? There's a scripture I like to bring out a lot, right? And it fits into this situation as well. Let me bring it out. Okay, Proverbs 9:1. It says, wisdom has built her house. Wisdom is what? Knowledge, wisdom, understanding of this truth. You know? And wisdom has built her house. And the house is what? That's you. Really your mind, your mindset. Right? She has hewn out her 7 pillars. Because the pillars represent what? That represents your foundation that your house is standing on. So when the winds, the demons come beating on that house, it's solid. You ever seen a house on the waterfront? The houses that withstand the waves and withstand the beat downs from the water, you'll notice that they're set up on like pillars. They're like these big thick poles, and they put the house on them pillars, like high up in the water, but it's holding down the whole fucking house. Look at bridges. Look at a bridge, Esau's bridges, right? The architecture, the bridges are being held up by very strong pillars, right? They go deep down into the water and they're grounded. And so when the water comes and beats on that bridge, it doesn't go nowhere because it's held up by them strong ass pillars. So that's what wisdom, knowledge does. You see? But it says she has hewn out her 7 pillars. When you hew something, what does it mean? Let's look up hew. You gotta understand these words. Hew. To chop or cut something, especially wood or coal, with an axe, a pick, or another tool. You read down, it says to make or shape something by cutting or chopping materials such as wood or stone. So what is that thing that's being chopped? Is you. It's them old, wicked, bitchy ass ways about you. You gotta chop that shit up. You gotta chop it off. You gotta cut it off. And eventually, if you don't, it's gonna get to a point where your whole body, you're just no good. You're not fit. And basically you have to be cut off. You have to be amputated from the rest of the body to save the rest of the body. So you have to be hewn out. You understand? You know, because you're part of the house, but bigger than you is the actual house, which is the kingdom of heaven. So if you can't fix your own house, you're like in a room in the overall house, right? Because when you walk into that room and you close the door, that's your little house. If you live in a house and they got different apartments, and you have your own room, when you close that room up, that's your own little house. You got the room set up like you want, your shelves, everything's organized. That's your little house. But you're part of a bigger house, So you gotta fix up your own fucking room first. You know, your little house that you got there. And if you can't, let's say you got mold in that motherfucker, and you don't take care of that mold, and it gets to a point, you're gonna have to cut that room out. That little house, you're gonna have to cut it off from the rest of the house so it doesn't spread and destroy the whole fucking house. You understand? So this is part of examining yourself. Wisdom hath built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. So that starts from within, and of course, just like when your body gets sick, you have symptoms, and you gotta see what the fuck is wrong here. You know? So when you come around certain brothers, you already know you got a problem with the brother. You feel certain shit. You feel the bitch assness creep in. You got to take care of that. How do you take care of that? You approach the brother and you squash that shit with him. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, hey man, we're human. I've had thoughts creep in and shit, you know? And I've had to examine myself, say, look, is the brother really going off, or am I just acting like a fucking bitch? You know, sometimes you're acting like a fucking bitch and you don't approach it, brother. You gotta figure out, like, damn, I'm just acting like a fucking bitch. What the fuck is wrong with me? And you end up not approaching the brother because you found the root of the problem. It's me. I'm acting like a fucking hoe. All right, cool. All right. But sometimes the brother might have did you wrong, you know, or it might have been a misunderstanding. So you approach the man. You know what I'm saying? And it could be, if let's say it's an elder, sometimes it's an elder, you know. I'm just going through the different scenarios why you might act like a bitch and not say anything. Sometimes it might be an elder, you know. So the scripture said, bring out a railing accusation and all, but also tells you how to approach. So first you got to examine yourself, see, are you acting like a fucking hoe, or do you really have a problem? Sometimes it's a misunderstanding. You know, you got to take the assumption that you just misunderstood some shit. And you always take the assumption, don't be like a fucking hoe, like a bitch, because she's a fucking low insecure. You know, she has very low, they're very insecure, low self-esteem. So when they have a problem, they always figure it's your fault and you're the one with the problem. They never say, you know what, maybe I just misunderstood some shit. Maybe I got the fucking problem. So let me just respectfully ask and have a conversation and find out what the deal is. So that's the same way you approach your brother, and especially when you approach your elder, you approach with respectfulness to say, hey, look, you know, you said this, I didn't understand, is this what you meant? You know, and then you seek to understand first, And if you still doesn't make sense to you, then you ask further questions. But you don't. There's a way to ask. And we've all been in them situations before. All the bishops, apostles, we've all been in that situation. And this is where, you know, we've all been through it, man. And for me, I don't understand, especially certain dudes. You come from the islands. Your background is from the islands. This is how like you're raised. When I came into truth, I already had that in me. You know, brothers will tell you, bishops, apostles. I was a hard-headed. I still am. But when I first came in, I was a super duper hard-headed motherfucker. I might have been the most hard-headed motherfucker they ever met. You know what I'm saying? And I used to get cursed out a lot. You know, I mean a lot. You know what I'm saying? But I never disrespected no elders or nobody. I never talked shit to them. I never slandered, you know, because that's just how I was raised. You know what I'm saying? I come from the islands, and we were raised like that. Respect your elders. It was just something that was in me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have respect. I don't think anybody could say, in this truth, could say that even a younger brother can ever say I disrespected them. I hope not. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that on my record. You know, because once you disrespect, then it's like, then the Most High takes that shit personal. You know what I'm saying? The Most High takes that shit personal. Even at your job, you got a manager. You disrespect the manager's going to tell the higher up, the CEO or whoever. The CEO's going to take that shit personal. You know what I'm saying? Now you got a problem with the CEO. You know? That's why the scriptures say, knowing the terror of the Most High, we persuade men. Because, look, it can get to a point to where you disrespect a brother so much, or you got so much beef with the Most High's men, you start thinking all types of crazy shit. And then now you're dealing with the Most High. Because the Most High starts taking that shit personal. Now you got a beef with the Most High. The Most High could do to you way worse than anything you can imagine. And then he puts demons on you. Demons that you can't battle, that you can't overcome. And next thing you know, you end up being a fucking derelict. You talking to yourself. You on a street corner. You know what I'm saying? You drinking pond water, doing all types of crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? You fucking walking around the city looking all crazy. You know what I'm saying? Just moping around the entire city all day, all night like a crazy ass motherfucker. The Most High will I was just say he's going to do you dirty, but the Most High will do you clean. You know, the judgment of the Most High is always righteous. You know, but the whole point is, brothers, is be a fucking man. You got a problem with a brother, you approach them. You know, don't let no grudge settle in. Let me look up the word grudge. I want to see what that shit actually means in the etymology. I guarantee you it goes back to something like wickedness or folly or something like that. Etymology. I spelled that shit wrong, but still keep it strong. All right, so etymology. Let's go to grudge. Let's see. Grudge, murmur, complain, variant of grudge, meaning to begrudge, to envy, wish to deprive of. And that, you know what that leads to? Hate. You start hating a brother, which hate is akin to murder. Now let's look from grudge, related to grudged. Okay, variant of grudge. So let's look up grudge. Okay, to murmur, complain, find fault with, be angry. Yeah, basically to have a problem with somebody. To murmur, to grumble. Yeah, and usually what them dudes will do, talking about that leaven, right? What did I say earlier? If you don't take care of that leaven inside you, you're going to have to, Most High is going to cause you to be cast out, because that leaven is going to spread to the rest of the member, the rest of the brotherhood. And how does that happen? You start murmuring, you start talking shit, you start whispering shit in brothers' ears. And then that way it starts spreading. It's how coups happen, you know. In governments, you have coups because one person will start speaking some shit against the government, then they'll spread, and they form a little army of demons, then they try to overthrow the government, you know. So basically when somebody starts whispering and murmuring within a camp, they're trying to send up a coup. You know, so when they leave, that's the demons. When they leave, they could take a whole host of brothers to leave with them. You know? So to murmur, to grumble, right? To be angry, you know, going right back to the scripture, be angry and sin not. You know? Because anger is an emotion, and we're in the flesh, so you're gonna have them emotions. Let me see. Let me Google this. According to the Bible, how to approach a elder. It's an elder. Gotta use proper grammar. It's an. Next, every time the next word starts with a vowel, you use an. You only use n when the word starts with a consonant. Approach. I think in high school, I had a pretty good grade in English for grammar and shit. You know, and approach an elder. What did I say? With respect. No, approach an elder with a problem respectfully. You know, because you got a problem with an elder or with an order or something. I mean, you can ask about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? You know, sometimes you need to understand. And sometimes it ain't for you to understand, to be honest with you. But that comes with experience, and that comes with being, what do you call it? Discernment. You know. But certain things, you know, you have certain freedoms in this truth, and you got to earn those freedoms. You know, you can't come into truth and you be in here 1 year and you expect to have the same freedoms as a brother that's been in there for 20 years or 30 years that proved himself. You know, then you want to throw a fit. You know what I'm saying? Be all in your panties and shit. You know, but there's certain things as a man, if you know. There's nothing wrong with standing up for yourself or asking questions, but you do it respectfully. And sometimes when you come respectfully, basically when you act like a man, you gain more respect, and it will allow you to gain the privileges or the freedoms that you wanted, because the brothers say like, damn, he came at me like a man. Okay, he's on a higher level than I thought he was, and then you do get the respect, you know, or the freedoms. You know what I'm saying? Okay, based on biblical teaching, how to respectfully approach an elder. Do not sharply rebuke or harsh like the chief low priest. You know, he rebuked harshly and sharply. And look where he's at now. See? Look where he's at now. I'm telling you, man, that respect and that grudge is very powerful, man. You know, that's a real powerful demon. The Most High don't like that shit. Again, that leads to hate, which is murder, because in your mind you're murdering the brother. And we had dudes that had grudges, and they'd said like, if I had a chance, I'd kill this elder or that elder. I'll punch him in the face. I'll do him harm. Yeah, that's how them demons work, boy. You know what I'm saying? Just like a woman, man. They start slow. The women work real slow. Surely, you ever heard the term surely but slowly? That's how them demons work, surely but slowly. They're methodical, they're strategic. They have proven methods to take a nigga out. You know what I'm saying? Proven methods. You know when you have a proven method that's been tested and tried, you know the shit works. You just gotta implement it by the right steps. That's how demons fucking work, bro. You know? Approach with humility and respect, yeah. 1 Peter 5:5 encourages younger individuals to be subject to their elders and clothe themselves with humility towards one another. You know, so when you come the right way, the elder can't get mad at you. You come the right way, respectfully. You know what I mean? So anyway, man, James 1:19, be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, especially when dealing with disagreements. You know, so I mean, I guess I'm sure y'all got the point. I mean, I got a lot more to say, but I think we're at a good point. I did a video day before yesterday where I went really deep into this, and I had to take it down because there was some background. It was hard to hear my voice, so maybe that was a spirit. So this one is short to the point with the main message. So again, being a man, right? Being a man will avoid a lot of bitch assness. All right, gird up thy loins like a man. Like I said, that scripture was in Proverbs. Wisdom hath hewn out the 7 pillars. You know, you got the old man, then now you created the new man. Break up thy fallow ground. You know, that's another good scripture. We basically got to get rid of them old bitch ass habits, and they will try to creep in. You know, but you got to rebuke them motherfuckers. You know, pray, come around the brotherhood, man, because them demons, they like to get you when you're on a one-on-one. When you by yourself, no brothers are around. That's when they like to do their work. It's easier. It's less work for them. You know what I'm saying? It's just one-on-one. They know exactly what angle to come at. You know, because they know you. They know who you are. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. All praises to Yahweh. Ba'ashim Yahushai. Ba'ashim Kakudash. Shalom.